Hello again and welcome to this edition of World Talks. Annakalczynska. Good morning. Aliens, the colonization of Mars, and whether Adolf Hitler was a communist. These were some of the topics of Elon Musk's latest X interview, this time with the leader of German far-right party, Alice Weidel. Musk's admiration for the movement is under scrutiny from the EU, which is investigating whether the interview could constitute an unfair boost.
I'm really strongly recommending that people vote for AfD.
Such recommendations tend to rarely be made by conventional interviewers. But it was far from your typical online chat.
So do you believe in God?
Well, I'm open to believing in things proportionate to the information that I receive. So,
Alice Weidel leads the Alternative for Germany, a far-right Eurosceptic and Russia-friendly party. A party now endorsed by the world's richest man, Elon Musk. The conversation between Musk and Weidel was audio only and transmitted live on Musk's platform X. The German politician also shared the videotaped version on her YouTube channel. Apart from German politics, the two discussed philosophy, religion, and the colonization of Mars.
perhaps when we go to and visit these faraway star systems, we will discover the remains of long-dead alien civilizations.
To label Adolf Hitler as right and conservative. He was exactly the opposite. He wasn't a conservative. He wasn't a libertarian. He was a communist, socialist guy.
Such statements sparked unfavorable comments on the internet.
It's worse than any discussion between two drunks in your local bar. Hitler was a communist, but he murdered the communists. Weidel grovels before the tech billionaire, asks about the colonization of Mars. She almost kneeled. Embarrassing.
Elon Musk has recently expressed his support for multiple far-right movements in Europe.
It is the combination of Mr. Musk being the richest person in the world, his new position in the incoming US administration, and obviously, last but not least, his ownership of X, which gives him this significant influence over political discourse and public opinion.
Experts believe the Trump administration not only aligns ideologically with the far right, but also stands to gain from its rise.
Adding more populists into the governments or into the parliaments of these countries may in the end actually be considered to be a positive outcome for the future negotiations between the US and EU if they ever happen.
The European Commission has delegated some 150 experts to review the Musk-Weidel chat and determine whether it amounts to providing an unfair boost to the German far right.
The issue at hand is whether there is unfair amplification of certain content. There is never an issue or problem with the conducting of any interview. Freedom of expression is a fundamental right in the European Union.
According to polls, the Alternative for Germany is on track to becoming Germany's second largest political party, narrowly trailing the center-right Christian Democratic Union.
Now, what is defined as election interference, and should Elon Musk be restricted from expressing an opinion? To discuss this, we are joined now by Dr. Anton Hofreiter, Chairman of the Committee on EU Affairs. Good morning, sir. Good to have you.
Good morning.
All right, so Elon Musk gives EU politicians a headache, and rightly so. Musk may have clout, but you could say the same of other magnates who own global news empires. Why are they not accused of interference, like Larry Page, or Sergey Brin of Google, Warren Buffett, who owns Verizon, Mark Zuckerberg, Rupert Murdoch, etc., etc.?
Robert Murdoch and Zuckerberg are also a big problem for freedom and democracy when we look what they have done to different countries. When you look to Murdoch, he was one of the persons responsible as Great Britain left the European Union and now is a poorer country, and the European Union is not as good as it could be with Great Britain in fighting the aggression of Russia. So he is also a problem, but X is a special problem because X and Elon Musk helps, and you call them far right, I would not call them far right. The so-called alternative for Germany are fascists. And they are not only fascists, you always have to be aware, they are German fascists, and German fascists within Germany, which is really a danger not only for all people in Germany, but a danger for whole of Europe. And I think Elon Musk helps right-wing extremism within Europe to weaken Europe. So this group of people are traitors to our country. The fascists in Germany are taking money from China. They are taking money from Russia. So we have to fight them much harder than so long. It has nothing to do with freedom of speech, but they are enemies of Europe, they are enemies of Germany, and they are enemies of freedom and democracy.
Exactly, but the democracy process is very complex and very delicate at the very same time. So do you think that the elections are such an important moment in democracy that there is a need of definition of interference? Perhaps someone should more control the process.
Yes, elections are, and are the most important issue for democracy, but elections have to be free and fair. And when we have interference, then we have to act. And European Union already has acted with the Digital Service because when we look, for example, on X, the algorithms are totally unfair, and Musk is manipulating the freedom of speech on X and is so responsible for totally unfair result. You had before this interview, we saw something about Romania, where TikTok and Russia helped a right-wing extremist who is pro-Russian to win the first round elections. And the Supreme Court of Romania decided that these elections were unfair because interference from foreign countries from an enemy because of Russia. And we have to be aware that we don't know what Trump and Musk is a helper of Trump will do next. He already threatened Denmark, Europe to attack it, also military. We don't know what he will talk with Putin. Maybe he will sell Ukraine and the security of all Eastern Europe to Putin. So we have to be aware that we have enemies in Russia, enemies in China, and now also enemies in the US.
Mm-hmm. How about the EU role here? The Commissioner Thomas Reiner said that Brussels would be monitoring the live stream very closely to see if the content should be included in an ongoing probe on X under the Digital Service Act concerning risks on civic discourse and electoral processes. So what risks does he mean?
He means the risks that the elections are manipulated. He means the risks that parties who are part of the election are financed by foreign countries. In Germany, it's forbidden to be financed by foreign countries, your election process. And of course, there is the risk, and we already see it, that the algorithm on different platforms are totally unfair. The algorithm on TikTok are totally unfair. The algorithm on X are totally unfair. So I would expect the European Union to act.
And how? What action could EU take, for instance, during the election time in Germany?
The European Union, not only during the election time in Germany, also what we have seen in Romania, should force the great platforms to change their algorithm, that the algorithm are fair again, that not one opinion is made much more visible for all users of the platforms than other opinions, because the right-wing extremists always say, oh, the freedom of speech is suppressed. But it's totally the contrary. On TikTok and X, right-wing extremism is favored, very heavy favored by Musk and by China. And so the only thing the European Union at first action should do is to make the opinions fairly weighted, so that right-wing extremism is not favored anymore. In the moment we see it's favored. And that's the core of the Digital Service Act, to make it fair for all opinions, also for democratic opinions.
From what I understand, there's a wide problem of understanding and of transparency about those algorithms. How do they work? What different opinions do they promote? And how can they be suppressed and somehow also manipulated, right? And who can do it? And who can also then supervise this process, right? It's a very complicated issue.
We see that the algorithm, especially by X, it's very visible that the algorithm are changed. For example, that Musk's opinions are favored a lot. Also, that right-wing extremism is favored a lot, because the algorithm decide what you can see as a user of this platform, and the algorithm can make it more probably that you see, for example, a democratic opinion, or that you can see a right-wing extremism opinion. That you can design this algorithm. It's man-made, and if you know how to do it, you can write the algorithm in a way that it's more probably that right-wing extremism is seen by a lot of people than, let's say, democratic opinion. And the European Union can force these platforms that they can have a look into this algorithm and can force them to change the algorithm, that the algorithm don't favor any opinion. In the moment, they favor right-wing extremism.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Anton Hofreiter, chairman of the Committee of EU Affairs, was our guest this morning. Thank you so much. And the elections in Germany are coming this February. So that's all we've prepared in this edition of World Talks. Stay tuned to TVP World for more future and news.